Ladies and gentlemen, we are just less than a day away from Donald Trump officially announcing the tariffs that will be going into place tomorrow. He calls it Liberation Day. We saw what happened a few days ago. I reported on it. Vietnam, who we do a lot of trade with, they removed their tariffs levied against the United States, and now Israel has as well. Now, when it comes to what Trump wants to do, we're not entirely sure with the tariffs. It's a very wishy-washy situation, but you can see are Trump's tariffs really a negotiating tactic? Israel, God knows why Israel has tariffs against us. I guess we don't send them enough military aid, but Israel provides a test case. Basically, it's the idea Israel, Vietnam, some of these countries already removing their tariffs, and so it's a win-win for Trump. That's if Trump doesn't want to commit to the tariffs fully, and this Liberation Day is more about getting the countries to remove their tariffs against us rather than us putting tariffs on them. They've already got tariffs on us, but they do more tariffs as their own reciprocal tariffs, although it doesn't make sense. The dynamic of it doesn't make any sense because they already have tariffs on us. We would be the ones doing the reciprocal to them. There's also talks about Trump going outside of reciprocal tariffs and just levying tariffs against most of these trading partners. And, the White House came out and said, well, we can generate $600 to $700 billion. They said about $100 billion alone off the auto industry in terms of total tariffs. It's unlikely that they're going to be able to do that because there's a number of factors that affect the situation with tariffs and the revenue. But the U.S., I think, could generate, if they do 25% tariffs across the board with our big trading partners, $300 to $400 billion possibly a year. But you're also going to get some of the U.S. companies not want to pay the tariffs, which will lower the revenue, but it will spur domestic production, which is there's one or two options when it comes to these tariffs. It's either going to increase revenue for Trump and allow him to install his no tax on tips, his no tax on overtime, take a look at some of the state income taxes, take a look at the Doge dividend, things like that, gives you more money. Although at this point, when it comes to what Trump wants to do, he's already committed to the 2017 tax renewal, which I don't think the Democrats would have renewed if Harris would have won. And the reason, in part, is because we do have a $2 trillion deficit. Now, of course, the Democrats would spend that money on social programs, so it'd be even worse. But this is a situation to where, we've got a $2 trillion deficit. It's not like we've got all this money to throw around and we can take all these taxes off. If we're going to have to try and save money some other way. That's why they've installed the Department of Government Efficiency. But you can see Israel, you can see Vietnam. Trump hasn't even officially announced what the tariffs will be, and we really don't know. There's theories. I think mainly tomorrow it's going to, because Trump has right now the tariffs, they're still in place against China. I think tomorrow you could possibly look at South Korea getting hit with tariffs. You could look at Taiwan, although it's a little bit hazy with Taiwan because they did recently announce a huge investment into the United States to produce semiconductors in the U.S., which is really what we wanted. It's what Biden wanted. It's what everyone wanted, bipartisan, in the United States. And so we see the situation now with China and Taiwan possibly escalating. There's been news on that over the last few days. There's more Chinese ships within the Taiwan Strait. It's a total encirclement and entrapment of Taiwan. If something happens there, that would be very hard. But the point of it is, South Korea probably is going to get hit with tariffs. All of the EU, I think tomorrow is going to be mainly about the EU and Germany in specific, in terms of the countries getting nailed by the potential 25% reciprocal tariffs. And so it's going to become a thing to where the EU will then say, well, it's just like these countries like Canada. They say, well, we have to respond with our own reciprocals. Well, no, you're already tariffing us. We're just tariffing you back. So we're the ones doing the reciprocals on you guys. The point is to try and get them. And this is just my speculation. I don't know. Maybe Trump is just going to keep it on for 4 years. He said he was going to commit to keeping the auto tariffs on for 4 years. Who knows if that's true or not? This is how these negotiations work. This is how it is what it is. You do want to bring the domestic production back, but there's pros and cons to it in terms of tariffs and the rising prices and trying to balance everything out. The point of it is, when it comes to the tariffs against the EU, there's people saying for sure the EU is going to do their own reciprocal, and it's not reciprocal, it's just more tariffs, again, because we're the ones doing the reciprocal. The EU is going to announce tomorrow, we're doing our own reciprocal against you. No, you already have tariffs on us. If you didn't have any tariffs on us, we don't know what Trump would do, but he probably wouldn't be doing, if he's just doing reciprocal tariffs, there would be no reciprocal tariffs against the EU because there's no tariffs against us. And I'm not saying tariffs by these countries it's their own, they can do whatever they want. In some cases, it's to protect their farmers, protect their own industry. I get it. But at the end of the day, Trump is pissed off about it. It's either going to generate the United States revenue or it's going to force more domestic production with limited higher prices. And there will be higher prices in certain sectors. It just is what it is when you put these tariffs on. Things don't get better overnight. It's not like we're going to get all this domestic production and we've got all these great worker laws in the United States and the prices are not going to raise. I mean, it is what it is. This is just the reality of committing to being self-sufficient and not reliant on China and their weak products, and just reliant on them overall and allowing them to expand their own manufacturing in terms of trade. So I think possibly South Korea, Vietnam, although, I mean, we do trade with Vietnam a lot, but now Vietnam is saying we're going to tone it down. They removed most of their tariffs against the United States. And we know Israel just did as well. So you see Vietnam, Israel removing the tariffs before Liberation Day happens. I think tomorrow is going to be, because we also do have the situation with both Canada and Mexico, which are two obviously massive trading partners. You could argue the two top trading partners with the United States right now, even in front of China. And so what happens with those two? I know that it's been on and off, on and off, on and off. There's certain tariffs against Mexico on certain imports into the United States. Mexico has said they're going to respond to whatever the U.S. does tomorrow on April 3rd. So we'll have to see. Mexico has been more cooperative than Canada has when it comes to these tariffs. And then, of course, with Canada, that's a whole nother situation. We're waiting to see what happens with their election. They've been very bullheaded against the United States. They do not like what's going on, obviously. And neither does Donald Trump. And Donald Trump feels the United States is being ripped off. When you look at the trade deficit, and you look at the situation with Canada, Trump wants even cheaper trade. And you could make the argument, well, Trump was the one that negotiated the 2020 North American trade agreement. Well, I mean, he wants a better agreement. I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be, and the premiers in Canada have said, yeah, we're going to have to renegotiate it. We want to renegotiate it. So Trump's going to get an even better agreement with them. If Trump really wanted to, because people are like, oh, all these tariffs are so bad. Trump's in an amazing, I hope people understand, Trump is in an amazing spot right now to really have the tariffs do exactly what he wanted. By the way, the tariffs indirectly are bringing inflation down because the stock market, there's uneasiness and it's causing a lack of confidence among consumers, which short term is bad, long term it's better, especially if you can get the inflation down. There's all these fears. I look on CNN and you've been reading some of these stories on the tariffs. They're like, oh, inflation is going to go up. This is total crap. If you look at the core inflation numbers, they're down, and it would be very surprising. They say inflation goes up because of the tariffs. Well, that's over time. It takes a long time for that to actually react to it. So if we can keep inflation down, hopefully eventually, you can't count on the Fed, but hopefully the interest rates will fall as well, which is really going to turn the economy into a good situation, hopefully. But either way, when it comes to this, it's Israel, it's Vietnam, it's these countries removing their tariffs. And really, I mean, this is negotiations. Trump really hasn't announced anything, but we're already getting the benefit of it before it even happens. And if Trump really wanted to stop all these tariffs, we could enter a renegotiation with a trade deal with Canada and get a much better deal. I can pretty much guarantee it, because Canada is hurting significantly right now, and they're just looking for an off-ramp in terms of these tariffs that Trump has put into place. And when it comes to the EU, that's a little bit of a different story. But the point of it is, if these tariffs, he thinks they're so bad and his experts say they're bad, Trump could get amazing deals out of this and just out of the tariffs he's put in place right now. And the tariffs against China are going to stay, obviously. When it comes to Canada and Mexico, I'm not exactly sure. When it comes to the auto industry, I think he said they're going to stay for the full 4 years. But you just don't know with Trump when it comes to tariffs. That's why I stopped predicting what I think Trump is going to do. But the point of it is, these are good wins for Trump without really doing anything. It's just the threat of this Liberation Day, as he calls it. And so that is just the reality when it comes to Israel nixing all import tariffs day before Trump set to levy duties on trade allies. Israel eliminates remaining tariffs on U.S. goods ahead of Trump move. And so I would imagine that, we'll see if more countries follow, but my guess is there's going to be a lot of talk about Germany, about the EU in terms of the tariffs Trump puts on them tomorrow, along with possibly Vietnam, South Korea, maybe a Venezuela with the oil, countries like that. So we'll have to see what he ends up doing. Nobody really knows for sure what he's going to do, because he said originally it was going to be the dirty 15, the top 15 countries that operate with the United States in terms of trade, and he Trump deems us getting ripped off. It'll be interesting, but either way, guys, that's just the current situation. That's going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.